last question for tonight from Janice, and so it's a little bit longer question, and I'm glad that she asked this because I think a lot of people are wondering the same thing regarding masculine and feminine energy. Any podcast suggestions about balancing, healing the feminine and the masculine energies in ourselves? I have a wound every intuitive senses. It affects my feminine energy a lot and is connected directly as a result of a traumatic birth in which I almost died and was left physically limited from. As a baby, I healed some within my first 3 months, but never fully recovered. This is aside from the autoimmune stuff that I developed in my late teens and actually feels more permanent, although I always hold space for miracles. I am starting to look into possibly doing some Satori breath work, although I haven't found a practitioner near me. Okay. So I first want to say that David, I think it's Deida, I think that's how you say his last name. It's Deida, David Deida. He has some great books on both masculine and feminine, and the titles kind of suggest they're like more about sex, but that also goes into the energy. So I would potentially look there for a book. And then my coach and his wife talk about a lot this subject, both masculine, he's in his divine masculine, she's into her divine feminine, in a lot of their podcast episodes. So while their podcasts are not necessarily about this, they do have episodes on it. So hers, Chris Britton, is the Goddess Boss podcast, and Ryan Yukomi is the Soul Wealth podcast. So here's a little bit of my suggestion to add on to any sort of research or podcast listening that you want to do. Yes, likely there's feminine energy that needs balancing, but I'm also feeling more inner child work would be especially helpful for you. So while, yeah, it might be showing up in an imbalance between masculine and feminine, the 1-month-old version of you, of Janice, is still super scared, wounded, and afraid. And she needs to be told that she's safe and that the world is not inherently scary or a bad, traumatic place. But what I'm feeling is that 1-month-old you in like your infancy still is holding on to so much fear. So I would actually prompt you to start with inner child regression and healing versus the masculine feminine. It's not that wouldn't be helpful, but you might find that even the potent feminine energy balancing work doesn't quite get to the layer that you want or desire, because that 1-month-old version of you is still really scared. And so she might not let the healing in, if that makes sense. So she needs to know, again, this little baby version of you, that it's safe to heal and it's safe to release these old beliefs. And then to balance your feminine energy, there's tons of ways to do this. I'm going to give you just a couple to at least start to think about. The feminine energy within all of us loves to be creative. And creative is not just painting a picture, but it can be expressed in so many different ways. So I want you to think about what is a way you can express your creativity, whether that's painting or dancing or some form of art is great, a adult coloring book, or I just did this week, redecorating a room. The feminine energy is also very nurturing, very motherly, whether you're a mother or not. It's nurturing. And so likely if your feminine energy is like overactive, it's like you've been helping people your whole life. So depending on where you're at, if it's feeling wounded and not honored, you might you might instead get a lot of balancing and good feelings from helping other people. So that really depends on what side of the spectrum you're on as far as what's imbalanced, and that would take longer to dive into and feel into your energy. But either stepping back from helping people too much all the time, or going in and nurturing and noticing how you feel when you are nurturing. And then also turning some of that nurturing energy inward towards you. So self-care. How can you honor and nurture yourself in your feminine essence? The feminine is also very intuitive. So anything you can do to awaken your intuition and trust. Like, she likes to feel supported, taken care of, so that she can be in her creative power. So ask yourself, am I trusting my intuition? And then beginning to notice any intuitive nudges that you're feeling in your life. I would encourage you to join the next round of Intuitive Soul School through Autoimmune Tribe, because this is exactly what we do. We awaken our intuition in a safe and supportive way. But there's also lots of resources out there that can help you awaken your intuition as well. It's just not as intimate. And then, really trusting, and starting to release control over everything, and trusting the process, trusting that you are going to be okay, holding space for those miracles, like you said. And then lastly for today, the feminine energy is emotive. She likes to express herself and let her emotions out. So if you, possibly because of the fear that's being stored in your body, don't feel safe or are afraid to let out emotions, like pure, raw, real emotions, and you might kind of filter your emotions or just suppress them, then I would also encourage you, and anyone who feels like they're feminine and is wounded, to let your emotions out, and don't be afraid of being judged or being this roller coaster for a minute. Like, just let your emotions out, and that's part of what makes us human. It is part of what makes us unique from the rest of the animal world, is these very specific and complicated emotions that we experience as human beings. So honor your humanness by letting your emotions out and also expressing your needs, desires. An example of this might be that creating boundaries. So your needs might be that you need more time alone, or that you need to say no to that social gathering, or that you only are saying yes to the things that really feel good, so that you're expressing your needs, your desires, putting up boundaries so that you can really go back and nurture self-care for yourself. And the combination of this should lead you in the right direction of balancing that feminine energy. If you feel stuck at any time, I would suggest working with a practitioner, whether that's breath work like you mentioned or another type of practitioner. And I would also suggest you to start with the inner child, Janice, just as a suggestion. Okay? If anyone has any questions, just drop them in the comments below and I'll come back and answer them.